Kim. Hi, Erik.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
He says, "What's up, Mom?"
Nothing much. We'll go on to our very last topic. I was going to talk about how to raise indigos and crystals, but maybe we'll just spend one session on one and another time on the other. Indigos. We could talk about those. I think a couple of my kids are indigos. Tell me about them.
He goes, he's so silly today. He goes, "Ooh, tell me about them. Tell me about them."
Am I being
But
too
he's like
sassy?
real. He's just real charming. Like he's just being really sweet with you. He's being real
Oh,
like he's pleased. I guess is the
yeah.
energy that he gives. Um, he says, "Indigo's mom." He's laughing. He says, "They're hard to raise.
Tell me
If
about
you
it.
have
Oh
a
my God, I could think of one person. She will remain nameless, who is definitely an indigo. She's like, I've heard that indigos are here to like break the structure down, and crystals are supposed to come in and rebuild it. Is that true?
Yeah, he says that's why they're so hard to raise. If you have a
Yeah.
child that's an indigo, or even if you're married to one, um, it's really hard because structure to them doesn't make sense. And it's not because it's even the human thought process getting in the way, it's at the core level. Um, he's showing indigos being extremely intuitive to a
Mm.
point to where um, it's like very telepathic type of people, but also very intuitive. Um, so first he wants to break down the telepathic part. These are people that can finish your sentences. He says these are people that from across town might text you when you're thinking of them or what have you. Like they're very
Oh yeah, she
telepathic
knows. She said,
individuals.
Mom, is there something wrong? I feel since something's wrong." But yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
So he's showing them first being very telepathic, um, being able to connect and know what's if something's happening when it's happening without being there, without
Okay.
being told. But also it's because they're claircognizants anyway. But he says they're also very intuitive. Um, but I feel like that intuition, he's kind of laughing and says, like, that's where they have to break the mold. They have, no, but I feel like I need to do this because they feel that way because it's their intuition, he says. So when when structure is like thrown at them or even consequences put on the table, you might see them like care less. He says consequences don't make sense to them because these are very intellectual people that are very self-driven, he says. Um, they don't think like that, Mom. He says they don't think like, oh, well, if I do this, these are the consequences. They think
Mm-mm.
more on the lines of,
No
well, if I
wonder
do
they're
this,
no wonder they're
it's,
hard to raise. But go ahead.
yeah, it's more of a trusting the process. These
Uh
people
huh.
trust the process of life
Hmm.
from point A, B, C, and D, and so on, rather than thinking, you know, A is the action, B is the consequence. That is very old style. He says we're going to see that thought process fading out more and more. So again, he's showing. Here's an example. If you have a toddler and they're indigo, um, and they do something that is beyond them that they shouldn't be doing, whatever, and you say, "Don't do that again, or else." Like they don't care about your or else. He says they may not respond to that discipline. Even in school, they might have a hard time in school with rules and regulations and order um, because they are deeply internally driven. So, um, but it's really hard for them too. He says because they're they're intellectual, they're very telepathic and claircognizant of themselves. Um, so when the outside world tells them something else or tells them otherwise, um, it's almost confusing to them as to why they should rely externally.
Hmm.
So when they see other people do it, or even are asked to do that too, you might see them like withdraw, kind of put their guards up,
Hmm.
push back a little bit. Um, this is interesting. He's talking about them too. They might be perceived as people that don't trust well.
Mm-hmm.
But the concept of trust, he says, doesn't even need to be there anyway for them. Like, I trust you, I trust this process. It's more of a sense of knowing
Oh.
that things happening is supposed to be happening.
Oh.
So they might seem like people that are very picky about where they place their trust or who they trust. But it's more on a core level. He's even saying that some of them are not conscious to knowing this, but at the core level of who they are, being able to just have that sense of knowing that, whatever happens is supposed to happen.
What's your age
Also,
range? And then
let me
don't
finish
forget,
this
yeah,
quick.
go ahead. Yeah.
He's talking really quick, and I might lose it. He's also talking about them being very cognizant of the way their thoughts and the way, like, all the energy in the headspace affects their life. The indigos are the people that know that their thoughts create their reality, and they use it as such. These are the people that are very interactive with, like, because it's all about incorporating the spiritual self versus the human self. The spiritual self being, indigo coming in.
Uh-oh. You there? You there? Okay, I'll call you right back. We're going to have to splice these two together. Okay, I don't know what happened.
Hey,
You just froze all of a sudden. But that's okay. We don't have that much more to talk about. But do you remember what Erik was saying?
absolutely, he's intense on
Oh,
this. He's talking about um, the way that we will know and be able to recognize and identify indigos are these are the people that have an intimate relationship with their thoughts, but in a very positive, with a very positive outcome, he says, like with a very positive um, knowing that the way that they interact with their thoughts and like employ them, he says, to manifest the reality that they want. These are very, again, very intuitive, cognizant people, very cognizant of their actions. They might also seem like overly analytical kind of people, overly analyzing almost everything because they know the collateral effects of what they do and their energy does and is, he says. Um, so these people, um, so he's addressing your question that you were asking about the age range,
yeah.
and he went like this, and he's like pointing at me. I've never really considered myself an indigo, but these are the people that come in. They're here to break structure,
Well,
to
what's the
create.
youngest? How old are the youngest, and how old's the oldest? More or less.
He says they're still being born.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
as far as the oldest,
30s maybe.
he says 30s.
Okay, I
He's
figured.
going into the 30s.
Okay. Do they are they prone to any particular mental or physical problems at all?
He says, if anything, they're prone to, he says, not really, but if anything, they're prone to being like overly, like, he says, these are his words, emotionally emphatic.
Okay.
Um, so,
Are you talking about like
it's,
a very heightened sense of justice? That's what my indigo is like. If somebody treats her little brother, you know, badly, then she will like, she has a very heightened sense of what's just and how there should be justice.
well, right. And emotionally emphatic, he says, over anything, like very emotionally powerful people. So these are people that bleed passion about what they're passionate about. He says these are people that are emotionally driven, but in a good way. Like, I don't think that they're emotions cause destruction.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like their emotions create more love, more of a
Okay.
higher vibration.
Well, that's good.
So
Uh, Collectively, did they have a spiritual purpose beyond just breaking down old structures?
he's showing them like paving the way for new life. What he means by this is a new way of life, a new way of being, a new way of existing. So not only breaking down old patterns, but he says, okay, so not only breaking down old patterns, but leaving space or creating space vibrationally. It's not like actually space, but
Okay.
setting up the vibration, he says, in a way that will naturally give life to new way, new thought process, new order, new structure, but in turn, it actually results in less structure, less attachments. They're the people that come in busting up attachments, breaking attachments.
Yeah, because my indigo doesn't care anything about material possessions or money or anything like that. It's very unimportant to her. Is that part of what you're saying?
Yeah, he says these people are criticized too with like being careless with things or money
Mm-hmm.
because they know that the money will pass away.
Mm.
That's not what they're here for.
Okay.
So um, he says they're the ones that come in and they break up structure and order and they set the stage. They set the stage for what the crystals do. He says, and the crystals come in.
Well, we'll talk
Um,
about the crystals later in a separate thing, I think. Really,
sure.
because we'll probably spend a lot of time on them too. One more thing before we close, I want to tell you that it's really weird because my indigo and I have often had the same dreams at times. For example, we dreamt one time that we were on the bow of a boat, and there was, this is so specific and random, these little red ear slider turtles crawling all along, and some were about to slip off the edge of the boat into the ocean, and we were scrambling to save them. We both had the same freaking dream. So, is that
That's
very
cool.
common?
He says,
I mean, it's not like,
it
okay, yeah,
is,
I dreamt about going to school naked. It's not that. I mean, red ear
yeah.
sliders on a bow of a boat, really?
He says it's very common for indigos because they connect telepathically. It all goes back to their level of their cognizance and the way that they telepathically connect to the ones that they love. So think about it more as the way that I channel Erik. This is what he's explaining. The way that I channel him is I just connect, I guess, in a telepathic way where I just hear what he's saying. I don't have to wait for his lips to say it.
Okay.
So the same thing with you and your indigo, like she connected to you, basically channeled what you were
Okay.
experiencing.
Yeah,
Like she
wow.
experienced it and dreamt it because of her, telepathic connection to you.
Okay.
So
That's cool.
he's just going into talking about the way the indigos and the crystals are related.
Okay.
So
All right. Well, thank you, Erik. Thank you, Kim. This was
you're
awesome.
welcome. It's always a pleasure. He
Don't
says, I love you, Mom.
I
He's
love you
taking a
so much. I've
bow.
been missing you over Thanksgiving and now Christmas without you. It's still hard, but it gets better every year. Come visit.
He says, He says, I'm still here.
I
And he's
know.
he's going like this, like he's bumping an ornament on the tree. So watch for
Okay.
that.
Oh, okay. I will do that. All right. Love you, Kim. Love you, Erik. Bye, everybody. And don't forget www.channelingerik.com. Erik spelled with a K. And watch for
That's
the messages that follow so you can figure out how to connect to the amazing medium extraordinaire, Kim Babcock. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.